All right, let's dive right into this explainer and tackle a massive problem that is honestly plaguing almost every major business today. We're going to look at why strategy execution fails. And well, here's the spoiler. It is almost never for a lack of data. No, it's for a lack of speed. So today, we're going to architect what we call the execution bridge, which is exactly how we get you from that lofty boardroom strategy down to operational reality.
I want to start by completely shattering a really persistent myth. There's this idea that if a project is failing or if a company is just struggling to pivot, they simply need more data to figure out why. Actually, scratch that. It's just not true. The reality is, organizations today are absolutely drowning in data, but they are starving for decisions. Most businesses don't actually have a data problem, they have a really serious decision problem. The data is sitting right there, but their ability to act on it is totally stalled out.
And that stalling creates what we call the velocity chasm. It's the total disconnect between boardroom intent and operational reality. I've seen organizations drop a £5 million investment to build so-called better data infrastructure. But when you look at the day-to-day reality, senior leaders are still running the company on gut feel and stale spreadsheets. Why? Because the official data doesn't move at the speed of the market. The data exists, sure, but the decision doesn't move. Without velocity, your multi-million-dollar digital transformation is essentially just an incredibly expensive filing cabinet.
So, to cross this chasm, we'll build our execution bridge using a really straightforward three-phase framework. Phase 1 is the diagnostic, Phase 2 is the sync, and Phase 3 is the impact. Let's get right into it.
Starting with Phase 1, the diagnostic. This is where we uncover the illusion of alignment theater. Okay, so the first step in diagnosing your underlying operational immaturity is to watch out for watermelon projects. You know the ones. Everyone loves them until they're actually in your portfolio. Just like a real watermelon, they look solid green and perfectly healthy on that outer reporting rim that all the executives see. But when you slice into the operational center, they are bright red and failing completely. This is the hidden rot of alignment theater, and it masks severe fragmentation across your systems. I have literally seen multi-million-pound data lake projects stay perfectly green in monthly reviews until the exact day they completely imploded. And it wasn't a technical failure, it was a diagnostic failure caused by fragmented systems creating hidden latency. Which brings us to the real constraint you need to pinpoint, the honesty gap. This is the exact amount of time that elapses between an operational issue popping up on the ground and its first appearance in a decision-ready pack for leadership. If your project status turns red on a Tuesday, but the board doesn't see a decision-ready report about it until their end-of-month review 3 weeks later, you have a massive honesty gap. That gap is the hidden latency that is absolutely killing your agility.
Moving on to Phase 2, the sync. It is time to actually drive some velocity.
Now here's our core philosophy. Data richness does not equal decision readiness. You might have petabytes of data weighing down your servers, but if it takes 2 weeks to parse it all, it is entirely useless for steering the ship. Major strategic choices, the ones that shape years of business architecture, they require incredibly fast, high-integrity feedback loops. To break through those middle management bottlenecks, you do not need more rows in a database. You just need one unified, decision-ready view that your leaders can actually use. To make that practical, you have to focus that single view on unlocking 3 critical decisions: funding, scope, and ownership. Let me share a great example. We saw a global asset management firm that was struggling for months just to mobilize project funding. They were totally stuck in the mud. And they didn't win by collecting more data. They won by pulling their discovery, their project dependencies, and their scope boundaries out of 50 different fragmented spreadsheets and into a single decision-ready view. By focusing strictly on what was needed to make a call on funding, scope, and ownership, they went from being paralyzed for months to mobilizing in just days, a real game changer. So how do you replicate that kind of win? You do it by tracking the exact timeline across 3 specific pulse points. Step 1, the exact moment the issue is raised. Step 2, the moment the pack is officially decision ready. And Step 3, the moment the decision is actually made. By ruthlessly tracking this exact timeline, we were able to expose and remove the invisible middle management blockers that were costing a firm literally millions in decision latency. Track this, and you make the invisible bottlenecks in your organization completely visible.
And that brings us to Phase 3, the impact. Let's talk about unlocking systemic ROI.
Because look, if you don't speed up, you end up doing what we call rearview mirror steering.
I once observed a project tracker that was maintained completely manually by 15 different people. The data going into it was perfectly accurate, sure, but because of the clunky manual process, the output was always 2 weeks late. So the leaders were essentially steering a massive corporate ship using a rearview mirror. They were running a system that was just fast enough to document the crash rather than fast enough to steer away from the iceberg. And that just creates a culture of constant, exhausting firefighting.
Transformation truly pays off when you finally shift away from those manual quarterly postmortems and move to real-time steering. You do that by utilizing interactive KPIs based on completeness, consistency, and above all, timeliness. The pivotal question has to shift from, do we have the metrics, to can leaders consume these metrics interactively right now to make a call? That shift is what turns a failing infrastructure spend into a systemic ROI engine.
Listen, if you take absolutely nothing else away from this explainer today, let it be this core metric. Measure time to decision, not database size. The true ROI of speed is that every single day you save in your time to decision cycle is a direct saving in operational burn. The most successful executives out there, they don't care how big your data lake is, they only care about how fast they can act when it actually matters.
And this builds directly into a highly actionable mandate that you can use tomorrow morning. I call it the 24-hour rule. It's incredibly simple, but man, is it revealing. If an operational issue is discovered and it's not consolidated into a decision-ready format within 24 hours, your operating model is fundamentally broken, period. At that point, your data is acting as overhead, not as an asset.
So, I want to leave you with this provocative question to really chew on. What is your time to decision right now? Think about the last major issue your team faced regarding funding, scope, or ownership. How long did it actually take from the moment the problem appeared to the moment a leader made a clear, actionable choice? If you want your organization's transformation to actually pay off, you have to stop obsessing over the volume of your data and start ruthlessly architecting for decision velocity. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.